Our dairy farmers are in crisis, some battling relentless drought, others struggling to rebuild after devastating floods, all of them facing soaring operating costs and now the crushingly low price of milk. Nearly a decade ago, I begged you to help our dairy farmers. Now their need is more desperate than ever.
A dairy farmer lives for their cows. We're with them one way or another 24/7.
I guess this drought is just a bit of a kick in the guts.
This has been an incredibly stressful time.
When it gets hard financially, it can be quite overwhelming.
We're back to a position that we were very upset about nearly 10 years ago.
It's just another thing that we've got to worry about. How do we get through this?
9 years ago, we brought you this story.
In the past month, Aussie dairy farmers have had their livelihoods destroyed.
And I asked you to do this.
The best way to lend them a hand is to pay an extra few cents for Australian-produced brand name milk.
Across the nation, shoppers heeded the call to arms. Shelves once full of branded milk became bare, while Coles and Woolworths' cheaper own brands sat untouched.
Major supermarket chains are selling out of Ashgrove milk products.
Now, Australia's dairy farmers need your help again.
We've had to purchase around about 2,000 tonne of fodder and it's cost us over $500,000. The stress adds up.
In New South Wales and Queensland, dairy farmers are trying to recover from severe flooding, while in Victoria, South Australia and Tasmania, farmers are in the grips of drought, for some, the worst on record.
Now it's getting hard to find the fodder. There's none left in South Australia. You're A, have the stress of how am I going to pay for this, and B, well, where am I going to get this next load of hay from?
Across the nation, 4 out of 5 dairy farmers are struggling to recover from some form of natural disaster.
We lost 35 young calves around the dairy. We just did not expect the water to get to the level that it got to.
Then this month, another blow. The price of milk.
The poor milk price, it's deeply concerning. Dairy farmers will continue leaving the industry.
Supermarkets purchase milk from big dairy processors, companies like Bega, Buller and Fonterra, who in turn purchase the raw milk from the farmers. Each year, these companies release what they're prepared to pay Aussie farmers for their milk. While this year's prices are slightly higher than 2024, they're less than 2023.
Their opening prices are unsustainable and farmers will not be able to break even.
For many farmers, it costs around 80 to 90 cents to make a litre of milk, but they're only paid roughly 70 cents, which means farmers are losing money.
In the current really challenging environmental conditions, the prices don't go anywhere near enough.
The stagnant milk prices, farmers say, also failing to take into account escalating operational costs.
It's definitely daunting. We're about to see electricity go up again.
There is a limit there, and the rising costs are really getting out of control.
Farmers pointing the finger at the supermarkets and their cheap home brand milk.
They're effectively undercutting the dairy cabinet by their home brands. It's sort of a gun to the processor's head. If you want your brand, you have to do our home brand. So we're sort of caught between a rock and a hard place.
When we reported on the dairy farm crisis in 2016, there were around 6,000 dairy farms. Today, just 3,800. That's a drop of nearly 40%.
There's not one farmer that I know of where the droughts and floods are occurring that isn't suffering at the moment. It does take a huge mental toll on your health.
Now, those who remain, they have this message.
You want to support your local dairy farmers, avoid supermarket brands.
Really focus on buying an Australian dairy product.
You actually have to look hard at the labelling to ensure it is a product of Australia.
It is the best stuff in the world.
If there's not a milk price that gives us some hope for the future, then the decision's got to be made whether we continue milking cows or not.
Oh. And I feel like the supermarkets have made it harder because their label is a pretty blue, it's not as...
And also when you read labels often, there's some confusing terminology like product of or, it's not clear where something comes from. But how do you know what brands to buy?
Well, if you, as a first port of call, just buy a brand. Because the thing that I think has to be broken is this idea that cheaper for you is better for you in the long run. Now, I understand there are people for whom cost is a huge issue, and if you're barely getting by, that's a different thing. But there are a lot of people who we would probably all have been among those people at various points in our life where you just get the cheaper one because
Because it's cheap.
why wouldn't I?
Yeah.
Right? And now you
Milk's
get
milk.
right,
Yeah.
and then you get to know why now you might not want to do that because the cost is coming from somewhere. And so if you're in that situation, I would employ you. You've done it before. Do it again, because there are people who desperately need your help right now.